are. Today's webinar is being recorded, which we will share with everyone at the end of this session. You will receive a link. And on that, today's webinar is cybersecurity in real life and how it affects you and I, each and every one of us. My name is Karen McDonald. I'm with Accountancy Insurance, and we specialize in tax audit insurance, professional indemnity, and cyber insurance for the accounting industry. And today I'm joined by Jen from Practice Protect. So over to you, Jen.
Hi, Karen. Fantastic to be here today. I'm with Practice Protect, and we protect for cybersecurity. My role is I look after clients and partnerships here, and I look for opportunities to best work with our clients and others that want to work with us. And I also work with partners like yourselves, Karen, in the industry to make sure that we do things like webinars and events to be out and about so everyone can know who we are. So jumping into the real stuff today, I'm super excited. Cybersecurity in real life, how it affects you. So Karen, cybercrime is the current buzzword. And so we were at a conference together recently, and I got to see firsthand just how much the interest there was in cyber insurance. This was from the delegates and I guess everybody there. Can you give us an update on the cybercrime landscape?
Well, certainly the Optus and Medibank private cyber breaches were a wake-up call for a lot of people that it can really happen to them. So that's when we start to hear a real surge in the cyber insurance. Since then, we haven't heard a great deal about any major cyber breaches in the media. So I believe people can become complacent, and because they're not hearing about it, it's not a concern and it won't happen to them. But do you know what? Last year alone, more than 1,000 incidents were flagged under the notifiable data breaches scheme. Those are the ones that were reported. There'll be many out there that definitely were not reported. But cybercrime is still very active, and just recently we saw a major super fund cyber attack with thousands of user accounts compromised, aimed at the vulnerable, which they often are, pensioners. And the threat actors targeted those in pension drawdown phase, as those accounts can request lump sum withdrawals. And we're all guilty of this. We all went, phew, lucky that wasn't my super fund. We dodged a bullet, so to speak. But reality is we will all become a victim of cybercrime at some stage, and it's how we manage that. Now, just then you heard me use the term threat actor. Threat actor, cyber criminals, hackers, scammers, all the same. It's just terminology. And the reason why we don't say it's a hacker or a scammer is because a lot of cybercrime is not just a hacker, it's not just a scam. It can be for monetary reward, like ransomware, or it could just be for malicious intent, or it could be just to cause as much disruption to your business as possible. So that's why we use the terminology threat actor and actor. So Jen, that's the view we're seeing. What about you? What are you seeing in the landscape?
Yeah, really interesting. And thanks, Karen. So full disclosure, I'm about 9 weeks into this seat. And so I'm on my own journey of really getting to understand what cybersecurity is. And I guess ultimately how it does affect accountants and bookkeepers. I guess my first thoughts have been, it's not as dramatic as I had in mind. I had this Hollywood version, straight, you talked about Optus and Medicare, that big end of town of cybercrime, affecting hundreds of thousands of users and potentially, millions of dollars, I think over 25 million in some of those cases. The reality, it's less dramatic, and to describe, it really is, but the impact can be and could be irreparable for a business or firm, and it's in no way less sinister. So earlier this month, there was the recent SMSF attacks, and Anthony Albanese said there was a cybersecurity attack in Australia every 6 minutes. So between 2022 and 23, cybercrime rose in Australia by 23%, which actually equated to over 94,000 cases. Between 2023 and 24, the decline was a little, which seems good news until you realise that's still over 87,500 cases. The accounting industry has a tax targeted at them of 13%, and so potentially that's just over 12,000 attacks that are out there. And what I'm learning is that hackers don't hack, they trick. They're looking for people and humans, that's the weakness. Hackers are looking to trick someone into doing something or opening something, and they're getting really clever, like seamless emails that look like they're coming from a trusted or known source, even from the likes of ATO. So the biggest trend we're seeing is business email compromise, BEC. And last year, BEC incidents grew here by 33%. Across all industries, this was a financial impact to Australian businesses of losses of nearly $84 million, which was an average incident cost of $55,000. As well as the financial impact, it's the reputational risk that we're seeing more and more. Accountants are being impersonated by their clients. And because accountants and bookkeepers have such a strong and trusted relationship with clients, these impersonations can actually be more likely to be believed. So there's so many types of cyber attacks out there, so much to have learned in the last 9 weeks: phishing, spoofing, bruitware, malware, ransomware, and BEC. And they're the things that are most likely to affect you and your practice. So I've got some case studies that I'll talk about shortly. But Karen, that's cybercrime and what we're seeing in the landscape. Tell me, what's happening with cyber insurance?
Well, Jen, our insurer for our Cyber Shield scheme said last month was their biggest month on record for the number of cyber claims reported and payments made. So there's still very much happening, but they're just not making news. For our clients, we see on average 2 cyber breaches a month being reported to our insurers, and that's just for our clients. That's just the accounting industry. That doesn't take into effect hospitality and manufacturing and retail. So you can just imagine how many claims are being reported to insurers. And from a premium point of view, despite the number of claims being reported, there's still competition for cyber insurance. And our insurer has recently announced they're reducing premiums by 5%, which they have now done. So if you haven't purchased cyber insurance so far, now's the time to do so. And now's the most cost-effective time ever to buy cyber insurance. So, Jen, that's what we're seeing and hearing on the insurance front. And what about you? You mentioned you had a couple of case studies that you're happy to share.
Yeah, I will. Thanks. Yeah, almost had me racing out to buy insurance then. Excellent. So look, yeah, case study, and these are actually taken from our support team and examples of things that are happening on a regular basis to us. So jump to Sydney, there was a firm let us know that they'd had a complete loss of their email for 36 hours. So a suspicious email had been received, and we jumped into a high priority investigation and review straight away. We looked at the email system, domain, and domain name system. So a spoofing email was identified, and alongside that, 60 additional attack attempts were found in the activity logs over the previous month. Scary, right? So actions and solutions, we reset the Practice Protect password immediately. The suspicious email was confirmed as a spoofing attempt, and it was successfully detained and not a direct compromise. And then access to the email environment was restored, and there was no evidence of a breach found. So overall, the incident was quickly contained and all critical systems remained secure. The client had all 3 Practice Protect security products, and they actually worked together to prevent any escalation. So our access security that blocked unauthorized logins and confirmed that there was no platform compromise, so it secured the apps. Our email security enabled Microsoft 365 security features, which filtered the spoof message into the junk folder. And then our device security provided the real-time endpoint protection, ensuring no malicious payloads were executed on the user's system. So it was a great outcome. And the best part of this was peace of mind. But just for a second, I want to have a look at what would happen here in a worst case scenario. And this would be with no Practice protection in place. So with a loss of email access, your data, communication, your tools and your visibility are lost. It's the main area of your business, and so there's a total business impact. The spoofing email that had been confirmed, so This, Karen, is where you were talking about bad actors gaining access. Now, they could have got into bank accounts, payroll systems, either the firms or the firm's clients. Financial impact. The 60 additional attack attempts found. So any one of these could have been successful in gaining access to the system, and from there sending out spam or impersonating emails to clients, brand and client trust, and then no expert or trusted technician support. So simply, who do you go to? Who can solve the problem? Who can let you know the amount of damage, or who can confirm that your email environment is now safe and not infected and ready to use again? I've got a second case study. Now, this is a meaty one, so strap on in. Okay. Central Coast, New South Wales, a client receives a spoofing email impersonating one of their clients and stating that there's a document shared for review. The email included a malicious link, and when the team member clicked into the link, they were taken to what looked like a Microsoft login page, and they were asked to enter their email and a code, and that triggered a real Microsoft verification code. So after entering the code, the team member was redirected to a fake OneDrive portal where they attempted to access the shared PDF and they entered their Microsoft credentials. The document wouldn't open. And this is when the team member realized something wasn't right. They then discovered that another of their team members had received the exact same email impersonating their client. So they contacted us immediately. So their Microsoft 365 account is integrated with Practice Protect, meaning that their credentials are shared across both systems. So as a result, when the team member unknowingly entered their details into the phishing page that was disguised as the OneDrive login, their Practice Protect credentials were also compromised. So, action and solution. Even though the attacker had obtained the correct credentials, got a valid MFA code, multi-factor authentication code, so they were actually into the system and human error had occurred, it's really important to note that the access then was blocked by additional Practice Protect security layers. So we had geo-locking. This restricts access to approved countries only. IP blocking, which limits access to known office environments or remote office workers environments, and a unique login URL. So that's a custom login address that is required to reach the Practice Protect portal. So to safeguard the environment, the following steps were taken immediately. So we suspended the affected user's Practice Protect account to prevent any access. We revoked all active Microsoft 365 sessions firm-wide to eliminate any open sessions that could be exploited, and we reset the user's password to secure the account and prevent the reuse of any compromised credentials. So then a full review confirmed that no unauthorized access occurred and the user was brought safely back online. Best case outcome. All right, so let's just imagine again, worst case scenario, no Practice Protect in place. Okay, so with the breach and the fact that the bad actor was actually in, they could have had access to the client data. They could have been able to read, download, forward emails and files, get into tax file, info, IDs, bank details, really, you name it, they were in. They also could have broken into third-party apps, Xero, QuickBooks, banking apps. They could change bank account numbers, raise fake invoices, or they could steal or reroute clients' money. They could actually lock out the team. They could reset passwords. They could remove or block users. And they could ultimately make themselves an admin and put themselves in full control. They could spread the attack. They could pretend to be your firm. They could send malware or target other businesses that you're working with. And finally, they could cover their tracks. They could actually turn off security alerts, delete logs, or make it look like nothing had happened. Pretty intense, right? Cool. That's my case studies. That's how it happens in real life. Not Hollywood, just the down and out facts of what can happen. Alrighty. So from your perspective, like what sort of claims or what's happening with claims that are being made under your insurance policies?
Yeah, well, Jen, I've actually highlighted a couple here that are both similar. The first one's where the threat actor, there again, there's that terminology, has sent a phishing email to our client. They opened it up, which allowed the actor access to the accountant's computer system, access to the client's files, which held personal and confidential information and bank account details for suppliers. The actor then misused the access to change bank account details in the accounting software platform, which I'm not going to say which accounting software that was, which was then used to pay a supplier, which had been updated the bank account details of the actor and not the supplier. And the second one was where our client had received phishing emails to all staff, and 3 staff members clicked on a link which allowed a threat actor access to computers to install corporate spyware, which is malware on their device to screen capture, screen log and key capture. So basically everything they were doing was being recorded. As a result, the actor had access to the accounting software platform, and of course, as we're seeing, changed bank account details for payment made to suppliers when in fact paid to the actor's bank account. Highlighted these 2, even though I had a plethora to choose from, because these are ones we are seeing a lot of at the moment, changing of bank account details. So, Jen, what would you like to share with your audience about Practice Protect that you think would be most helpful to them?
Yeah, cool. All right, great question. Practice Protect's been around for over 10 years. We specialize in the industry, so we understand workflows and apps that are used. And because we work only with accountants and bookkeepers, we see scams specifically targeting firms like yours every day. And we've developed a unique defense against threats like these. So when a firm's targeted by a scam, we apply that learning to every other user in our network. So in effect, the Practice Protect accounting community benefit from herd immunity. Critically, we have support and technical support, and this is the absolute glue. This is the absolute peace of mind of being able to contact and ring a live technician and have someone work with you to identify what's happened, to assist in fixing the problem, and then also to be able to verify when you have a safe environment to work in again. We have a Practice Protect University. So this is where all your team members will get that critical awareness and training of how to be aware and vigilant of a cyber attack. So cybersecurity, as we've said, it's the human element that hackers are looking to try and fake or break. It's having all team members trained and being aware what to look for to be able to mitigate risks. We have compliance documents, so having your compliance and security plan and processes documents really important for your business, but it's also important for your insurance. So we have compliance that's been put together with best practice legal standards. And we also have a trusted client pack. In fact, a great phone call that I heard in the office here this morning was someone saying, one of my competitors has got this trusted pack on their website. I want this as well. And what it does is displayed on your firm's website, gives you validity that you're a proven data custodian. They're my helpful things that I think top line we can offer to the market. I guess from your perspective, Karen, I know Practice Protect and Accountancy Insurance, we have a really strong relationship. Can you tell me what you offer for our clients that have gone through that certification process?
Yeah, well, we work so strongly with Practice Protect because we really like your certification process. It is so thorough, which in turn means you've got great security. You've got the person who goes through the certification process with yourselves is better than the person who hasn't got that process in place. So we provide a discount on your total insurance premium, cyber insurance premium, if you've gone through that certification process. Now, Jen, what gaps in protection do you commonly see firms facing, even when they think they've got good cybersecurity in place, and how does Practice Protect fill these gaps?
Yeah, cool. So I guess it's things like when firms and practices think that they're protected by having things like their passwords protected. There's many entry points for hackers, and passwords just one. Also, with multi-factor authentication, just having that on its own. So, as I mentioned in the case studies, we have 3 different types of products at Practice Protect, and each one has their own type of protection. They all work well individually, but together is what powers their layers of protection. So every layer helps the other. So access security will give an increased percentage in your protection, and then email security will give an additional layer of protection again, and then device security will give an additional layer again. Sorry, excuse me, Karen. So access security is where our platform provides a secure portal, and that lets you control who has access to what and where. Email security, email is the heart of any firm, and that's how everyone obviously communicates with clients. So it holds firm credentials, sensitive data, and private information, and we create a barrier of protection around your firm. And then device security protects your devices with our AI-powered desktop security, utilizing firewalls, AI-powered detection threats, and data breach protection. It also, because we focus on the industry, if somebody tries to download something that could look dodgy or we haven't seen before, we'll sandbox it and test it until we know that it's safe and give the go-ahead from there. Cool. So back to cyber insurance, because I do love how these interlink together. I'm really curious. Tell me, how much does it cost?
Okay, all depends on what limit of indemnity you take and your turnover. So the limit starts at a minimum of 250,000 and above. So to give you an example, a client, accounting firm who has a $1 million limit of indemnity and they have a turnover of $1 million, you're looking at a total premium of 2,100. That's for all charges. That's your premium, that's your GST, stamp duty, any administration fee. That's all up per annum, $2,100. And some clients ask me, oh, you know, Karen, I've never taken out cyber insurance before, just tipping my toes in the ocean just for now. How much should I take? And I always say as much as you can afford. But for those that are not too sure, just want to have a look around, see how much it's going to cost, I always say take something, take the absolute minimum cover, at least have something in place to give you some protection. So just take the 250,000 limit just to get you going. And same question to you, Jen, can you give us a ballpark of pricing to be protected?
Yeah, sure. And look, thanks for covering that off too, because I think that's often so easy to want to overlook or something when you just don't know what the pricing is. It can be a barrier. For us, it depends on the number of users that you have, but really simply, ballpark figure, it's somewhere between $22 and $30 per user, per security per month. Excellent. So I don't know how we're going for time here, Karen, but I'm really keen to hear about your key takeaways and also then give everyone an idea of what they can do from here if they're interested.
Okay, so what a lot of people probably don't know is that more than 50% of small businesses never recover following a cyber attack. That you only got one shot to get it right first time. And like I said before, it's how you manage it. I mean, look at Optus. I mean, lost clients, resignation of the CEO, significant brand damage. Now, cyber insurance, it won't prevent a cyber breach, but it should be seen an additional layer to your cyber security. A bit like Swiss cheese, it has big holes in it, but once you put layer on top of layer on top of layer, those holes are filled, making a good defense against cybercrime. So that's my key takeaways. And to obtain an obligation-free quote, go to those obligation-free, jump onto our website, accountancyinsurance.com.au, Cyber Shield Quick Quote. All we ask is about 5 questions about your security, your cyber security, and we'll get a quote out to you ASAP. And what are your key takeaways, Jen?
Cool. Well, that actually sounds really simple, your action points there as well. I have heard that stat from you, that 50% of businesses don't recover. For the last couple of years, I've heard that, and it's something that's really sat and really resonated with me. That is totally terrifying, of the numbers of how people, potentially can be impacted and not bounce back from. I also find it really interesting. What we're seeing is really similar. We're at slightly different places in where people interact with us. We're often looking at it from getting people prevented from having a breach, and you're there at helping after a breach has potentially happened. So I love that. I guess my quick takeaways are: stay skeptical. Like, always think twice before you're clicking or sharing something. Stay connected within your firm. If something doesn't look right, if it doesn't feel right, talk about it, report it, be vocal about it. And my final takeaway, I couldn't not say, stay protected. Like, that's what Karen and I, Accountancy Insurance and Practice Protect, are here to do. And what we'd love you to do, if you're interested from here, is reach out, practiceprotect.com, and book a security consultation with us. It will take 30 minutes, but it's a tailored consultation for you and your firm. Jump straight on in. Fantastic. We've got some QR codes there. We can set you up that time, and we can make sure that we have something customized just for you. Karen, it looks like we have just a couple more minutes there. Did you have any other examples or anything that you wanted to share?
Look, there is one that I would like to share. It's one of my professional indemnity insurance clients, a very costly exercise for him who didn't take out cyber insurance. So I just want to share that with everybody. So I just done his professional indemnity insurance renewal. He's an accounting firm based in Brisbane. And I said to him, would you like a quote on cyber insurance? He said, yes, I would. So based on some of the information on his PI proposal form, I was able to get just his turnover and staff numbers and where he's based. And I was able to give him an indicative quote. So based on the size of his business, I thought $500,000 limit would be sufficient for him as a start anyway, just so I can give him a quote. So I emailed a quote over to him for $1,100. That was the premium, the GST, the stamp duty, everything, 12 months cover. Didn't hear back, followed him up, didn't hear back, followed him up again, nothing. So one of my colleagues and I took him out to lunch, and I raised it with him. And I said, now about the cyber insurance, do you want to go ahead? He said, no. And I said, why? And he said, because my IT guy, I showed it to him and he said, we don't need it. I said, well, that's a big call to make. Why did he say that? And he said, because he said nothing's going to get through. And I said, well, that's even bigger call to make. And I said, really? That's not really good advice to give. And he said, no, he's really good. He looks after private hospitals, universities, schools. He said nothing's going to get through. I said, okay, so it didn't matter what I said, he wasn't going to take that insurance. And I remember it vividly to the day. I can picture it now. 4 weeks later, he called me about 6 p.m. at night, and he said, Karen, we've been attacked. And I couldn't help myself, and I said, what? I thought you told me nothing was going to get through. And he goes, well, it did. I said, well, talk me through it. What happened? He said that one of the other partners received an email with a link from what he thought was from ASIC to renew the company name. And he clicked on that link, shouldn't have, and it looked legitimate to him. Got the message on the screen that they had to pay $8,000 in 48 hours. All their data would be encrypted, and if they paid that money, they'll get the code to unlock the encryption. So straight away, he rang the IT guy. They shut the system down. 5 days later, they were up and running again. And the reason why it took 5 days, it took 3 attempts to restore the system, because the first 2 attempts failed. So the third time it worked, but that whole 5 days, they couldn't do any work whatsoever. They had to send the staff home. They had to take annual leave or leave without pay. They did both. And so when they're up and running, back to normal, he had to pay the IT guy $15,000 for that 5 days work that he'd done. And he had an invoice for another $2,000 to pay him. So $17,000. And I said to him, you know, that $1,100 that I quoted to you would have covered all that. He said, I know. And the reason I'm ringing you is because I wish I listened to you. And he said, and that I'm telling you because I'm also telling all my clients that this can happen to anyone, and that we had the option of taking out cyber insurance, and we didn't. So he's been a great advocate of mine. He has since taken out cyber insurance. and all is forgiven, but I love telling that story.
I love it. That's fantastic. I've really enjoyed having a chat with you today. I'm really enjoyed hopefully unpacking a little bit more about what cybercrime and cybersecurity can do and how it can affect you. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thanks, everyone.